Hola, and welcome to episode 51 of Word to Your Mama. Today we have sculptor and monster maker Vanessa Ramirez. That is correct. We get into how a Mexican introvert became an artist, her transition from 2D to 3D, about Vanessa embracing the cute to create her solitary monsters, how her drawings convey puffiness, similar to the ghost in City of Ghosts, one of my favorite shows. Please check it out on Netflix. Then Vanessa and I, two brown women, get hella real about mental health and how we both fuck with Brene Brown heavy. She's fantastic. I learned a lot from this conversation, even though we've known each other for a while. And after the convo, we ended up staying on the Zoom for, I think, maybe like another hour or more, and just getting into it. And it was great conversations, recorded and post. So I really, really appreciate it. I think you'll love her. I think you'll love the insight. Just trying to spread the word. There's not that many of us out there. And I just love connecting with other Latinx, Latine artists that are in similar worlds. So yeah, and also there was the beginning part that I left in that I was going to cut out, but I just wanted you guys to know and realize, two Mexicans, we were early. Proof positive. We were early. All right, so let's get into this. Look.
Hey, what's going on?
Look who's early to the party.
Yeah, I try not to be too Mexican when it comes to getting the things.
I was like, let's see. I was like, let me go early. I was like, let me not stress her out. I don't know. We are Latina. We're Latinas up in here. We don't know. We don't might be on, Latino time.
Yeah, it can happen.
What's going down, Vanessa?
Oh, same old. Just working. How you doing?
I'm alive. Right?
Some days that's enough.
That's enough. I woke up. I'm breathing. But you're good. Like before we start. I'll cut this part off before I start. Just because I forgot to ask you ahead of time. Anything off limits?
No.
Anything like, let's not talk about da. You're good?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm nothing to hide. I say that
now. Okay, then we're about to get into it. I'll just play. Don't be afraid.
Too late.
Vanessa, thank you so much. I appreciate you, coming through and doing this because I know you're busy. But like I say in almost every episode, I just really like bringing people on that I know, whether I know them very well or I don't know them as well. I find out more shit when we have these conversations. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different thing. We're not chilling, drinking coffee, people watching. You and I are conversing one-on-one, and I get to learn more about you. But first and foremost, how are you doing? How's the pandemic been for you?
It's funny because before the pandemic, I was pretty isolated anyway. I was only going to the office like 2 or 3 days a week. And we were already changing over to work from home right before it hit. So, and it hasn't, the only thing that's really changed is I don't wear, jeans anymore. I'm in full-time leisure wear.
So that's the only thing that's changed for you?
For the most part. I mean, it's nice to not have to drive anywhere. I was driving like an hour and a half. Oh, well, an hour 2 and about an hour 15, hour 20 back every day. When I went in the office.
Where was your office?
Newbury Park.
What? What is that?
It's in Ventura.
Oh, I've never heard of that before in my life. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's in Ventura. It's just past Simi Valley, past Thousand Oaks.
And that's the name of the neighborhood?
Yeah, Newbury Park.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Well, drive. It sucks. Sucks being in the car. I don't miss that for nothing.
I don't miss it at all. I mean, I was working early hours. I was getting to work at 6. I was leaving the house at like 4:45.
Shut up.
So that I could leave work at like 2.
Wait. Back it up. You were leaving your house at 4:45?
Yeah.
So what time did you have to wake up?
3:30, 3 o'clock. I mean, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Goodness. And what time did you go Mimi's?
Midnight.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Sometimes like I would go nocturnal and I would sleep for a couple hours when I would get home. And then I would, because I have a full-time job and then, I make the things.
Yeah, you got to do that afterwards. And then that's nice to do it late at night, the dead time, as I like to call it. Like after everyone goes Mimi's. But you got to wake up. So you just say, fuck it. I'm not going to go Mimi's.
What's that? I'll take a nap. It's fine.
That's crazy. So now that you work from home, you don't have to travel. So you just have to be ready to roll from your computer. What time?
Well, I changed my schedule recently, probably in the last couple months. So I'm working 4/10s. So I basically am ready to go at 6 in the morning and I work until about 4 in the afternoonish. And I just, but at least I have like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get other, to focus on things. So,
dope.
And I still work. I still work after I work, but it's nice having that extra day.
Yeah, hell yeah. Then it's worth it. Damn. So would you say you're a morning person or just because you have to?
Because I have to. Yeah. I'm a night person. Like if given the opportunity, the thing is I wake up early, even when I'm not working, but I like being up late.
Yeah.
It's so quiet and chill. And it's just, it's just so easy to get in the zone and just really focus and just get shit done.
Yeah. It's that vibe I like to tell people that aren't creatives. It's a quietness vibe. Like even if you don't live with people, it's like the surroundings, the county, the state, like everyone's Mimi's. It's a quiet vibe. And
there's no interruptions. There's, just put on some music and just work and like get lost in what you're doing. And, it's not like you have to be anywhere. It's not like I have to really worry about, I miss that part of it, being able to be up super late. That's why the weekends mess me up. Cause I'm like, all of a sudden I'm up at like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm going to pay for this later.
That's crazy timers. Okay. So let's start from the beginning, Vanessa.
Okay.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Sun Valley, California. Here, it's in the Valley.
Sun Valley. Now, Sun Valley, I do know of because when I was in college, one of my good friends, whose family now, Danny, he was gay, but he hadn't come out yet, and he told people he had a girlfriend in Sun Valley. That was the cover.
Well, now it's like Sun Valley. Whoa! But back then it wasn't so bad. Yeah. My grandma lives in Arleta. Yeah, what was that? Yeah. My grandma lives in Arleta, so it's like right there. So I think that's kind of like where my parents live. So that's why I was born in like Sun Valley.
Ah.
Yeah.
So now I actually really know someone from Sun Valley.
You do.
It's not a cover.
No, not a cover.
And I know you're, Latina, Latinx, Latina, however you identify. But from where? Where are your people's from? Where are you from?
So my mom's from Zacatecas. She's from they're all from there, and they were born there, and then they moved here when they were younger. My great grandma was actually born here, and at that time they had started putting people back on buses, and because they were doing the whole immigration reform, and they basically just shoved a bunch of brown people on the bus and shoved them back over. So she was one of those people, and then she found out she was a citizen later because she was just a little girl. So she was able to come over, and then that's how they were able to make a way for like my grandparents to like basically pay for all their kids to come over here and to get citizenship. So, well, eventually, like I think most of my aunts, like my mom, are citizens now. But yeah, they were all born. So my mom was from the motherland.
Wow, that's awesome. That's crazy, right? That like your abuelita didn't know until later. Oh, I'm a citizen.
Yeah. It's it's funny because at least that's the story that I was told, and I was like, yeah, that's crazy. And my dad, it comes by the way of Texas or something to that effect.
And he's Tex-Mex.
I guess I don't know much about it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vanessa,
yeah,
saying your name is crazy because I just found out this past year that I have a group of siblings that I didn't know about.
Surprise.
And then the one that I've been in contact with, her name is Vanessa. So I have a sister named Vanessa.
Nice.
Yeah, so little Vanessa tidbit. So when was the moment that you knew you were into art, you're creative, or you're like, oh, I'm gonna be an artist. This is it. When was that moment?
Well, I didn't grow up here. My dad was Army, so we were all over the place growing up. So I actually grew up like in we spent some time in Hawaii, we spent some time in Kentucky, Tennessee.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And Texas. So I wasn't really around a lot of people who were arty and into arts. And the first time I realized like I could like draw, like I would draw stuff like at school, and like I loved like the painting part of it. And I would bring my mom things, and she said that she had so many, like she ended up having to like, I laugh because I joke with her. I'm like, how come you threw away all my artwork? She's like, you just did so much of it. I couldn't keep it all.
Prolific at a young age.
Yeah. So I would just make a bunch of stuff, and I love that part of it. But it wasn't like something that was like necessarily like encouraged or anything. But we came to visit my family out here, and my uncle was sitting there, and I remember it so clearly. They were like living at my grandma's house, and he was drawing cars, and I was watching him really intently, and I was like, ooh, and then I kept trying to replicate it. And then I was sitting in my grandma's room, and everybody else was playing and stuff, and I was drawing the car over and over and over again. And my dad came in, and he said, oh, what are you? He's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm drawing. And he saw what I was doing, and he's like, there was like some loteria cards or something there. And I remember he grabbed like the rose card or something. And he said, can you draw this? And I was drawing it the way that I could. And so it just, yeah, I mean, it was great, but I drew rose. And I just remember that moment. And I was like, this is cool. So like I would doodle all the time. Like when we would get a little bit of money or something, they would take us somewhere. And I remember we'd go to like Toys R Us, or we'd go to like, we were in the military, so we'd go to like the PX, and I would buy like pencils, or I would buy like paper or something like that. And I would draw like, if I would get coloring books, I would draw like what was in the coloring book. Or like if my dad had comic books, I would draw that. And then I just took some classes in school, like high school and stuff like that. And then I just stopped afterwards, because I had to do life stuff. And I didn't draw for a lot of years. And here and there I'd get like a sketchbook, and I would doodle a little bit, and then I would never do it again for years again. And then about 10 years ago, I was super frustrated at work because the lady who I was working for was really like, she had a set line of what she wanted, and she didn't really want to deviate from that. So I was just making what she wanted. And it was a really frustrating time. So I was like, I had tried to get like into art college, and I had done some like life drawing, and I had done all this stuff trying to build up a portfolio. And then I just decided to kind of like, I was still taking classes, and I was like, I need to do something. And then I just had these ideas to draw again. And I was like, I'm just going to keep drawing, and I'm, going to do it every day. And I just started drawing again. And at first I didn't know what to draw. So I would like go on, what was it, Flickr or whatever. And I would just look up pictures of like dogs or whatever. And I would just doodle them and just try to get back into that. But just as long as I drew every day. And, and before I knew it, like I was, I was messing around, I had been collecting toys and stuff, and I saw people like customizing. I was like, I'm going to try that. And I did it really badly. And, and I just kept drawing. And then I took, so that was basically what got me back into being an artist before I go too far. But yeah, so that's what got me back into being an artist is I was just frustrated at work and I needed something to do.
And what were you doing at work?
I'm a graphic designer. I'm still doing it. But when I was working so the company I worked forever, but I've worked for 3 different owners.
Oh.
So the owner now is different, but I was doing promotional products. So I was basically designing like labeling and packaging for kits. And then I was like running labels and stuff like that. Just really, and taking pictures and stuff like that, like for catalog and stuff. But that's about it.
And so that's how I met you, right? Because then you got into the toy world. And how did that happen?
Well, I was collecting first, and then I started getting on. Like I joined Twitter, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna join Instagram, so I could start sharing my drawings and what I'm doing. And I was like starting to teach myself like how to. What I thought, I was trying like customs and stuff like that, and then, yeah. So I was just doing this whole line art thing. It was like back before when I was doing like mustaches. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember those. I remember that. Yeah. I remember that style. Yeah. And it was specific. Like if you saw it, you knew it was you.
Yeah. So I that just kind of came out of nowhere, and I started doing that. And then I was taking this like character design class, and out of nowhere, monsters came up, and, I was trying to teach myself how to sculpt. So I had done some like fan arty stuff, and and I kind of decided I didn't want to go that route. I wanted to do something different, because I didn't have a style at that time. It's fine to do fan art and all that, but like I feel like the best of it is when it's stylized and you have a style and you use your style to adjust that. I think that's the best versions of it, and that's what was happening. So I was like, I'm just going to try to do my own thing and see what happens. And I started teaching myself how to sculpt, and so I was on like forums, and I was like on Twitter, and I was on Instagram, and obviously Facebook, all of those. And I started like chit chatting with people, and that's where I ran into Hannah.
Nice. Shout out to Hannah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's where I met a few other people. And one of the people that liked what I was doing and became a friend, his name was Matt Heisey, and he used to do a blog called Toy Opinionated. Mm. And he decided to buy a booth at DesignerCon one year. I had attended like as an attendee the year before. Then he bought a booth and he invited me, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? So, but I was sharing with like a bunch of people. So I just had this little corner. So I did like these little custom androids with little mustaches and all the line art.
I remember those.
Yeah. And I did a few other things, and I did like these little prints that I actually screen printed because my uncle owned a screen printing company, and I had worked for him for many years before I was at this other place. So I went and I was able to screen print them myself. And so I had those, and I sold like 2 things, but I got to see a lot of really cool stuff, and I saw resin, and I was like, that's what I want to do. So I started teaching myself how to sculpt, and I was making like random things. Like I was making like these little like I made like brooches and magnets of like butterflies or something. No, bumblebees. Mm-hmm. And I did like some like wall hanging stuff, and I was just doing these random things, like just ideas. So I was teaching myself how to do resin, and I think I did Potato Baby was the first monster I made. Yeah, and I just the monster thing stuck, and I just started doing it more. And I actually met Hannah at that DesignerCon, and I made a terrible first impression with her.
Does she think that? Does Hannah think that?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's funny because she was like she came up to the booth, and I was really nervous. I wasn't used to that, and I guess I have the RBF going on, so I don't always appear the most inviting, I guess. Especially that year, I was really nervous. So she said she basically had written me off at that point. But we had talked on Twitter before that, like we had chit chatted and we like joked. And because that's how I am. I'm kind of I like to laugh and have fun and joke and stuff. So I would always be like posting dumb shit. And so I guess because of the way I was on Twitter versus how she met me, she decided to give me another opportunity, and she invited me to my first show. So I did a collaboration piece, and then she kept inviting me. And so I just kept doing them, and people just responded, and it just went from there.
And because I was going to ask you about the monster, because I remember it's fascinating seeing people's progression and being able to, because I remember those the line art mustache, the drawings, the androids, I remember all of that. And then seeing you move into these monsters, which are super cute, like super cute. We'll talk about that in a second. But how did you get into, let me read something really quick. Because I was looking, congratulations again on the wrapping up the show at Stranger Factory.
Thank you.
This episode of Word to Your Mama is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. So I think we've all been to birthday parties at McDonald's, if you think about it. Am I right? Especially us Gen Xers. Back in the days, for my experience, we didn't have much. But on the rare occasion, someone in our community or someone from my school would have a birthday party. They would have it at McDonald's. And it would be hella special because we got the little Happy Meal with the gift, but it wasn't our birthday, but we still got a little gift. And all the crew members that worked at McDonald's, it was people that we saw in the neighborhood or even people that we knew. So I think McDonald's crew members might throw more birthday parties than any other employees in the world. And I think that's pretty special when you can see people from your community be a part of it. So yeah, I'm loving it.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Many of us have heard of the devastating passing of Hurricane Fiona through Puerto Rico, but not many of us know of ways, or better yet, trustworthy ways to help and contribute to those in need. Fiona a través de los ojos de los niños is an NFT project featuring art made by children of the nonprofit school Flor de Loto in Ponce, Puerto Rico. Through their drawings, they've expressed their feelings and fears which they went through the hurricane. You can help these children, their school, families, and communities by minting one of their NFTs at helppr.xyz. You can also help by sending crypto directly to their wallet listed on the website or do a donation through PayPal. The links can be found in the description. And to learn more about this initiative and how you can help, please visit helppr.xyz or via Twitter at helpprflm.
Ayuda a tus hijos y estudiantes a llegar más lejos. Aprende más sobre la beca nacional Hacer de McDonald's. Desde 1985, McDonald's ha otorgado más de $33 millones en becas. Gánate una beca de hasta $100,000. McDonald's está dando $500,000 en becas este año. Puedes ganar una de 30 becas. Hoy día, es importante seguir adelante y hacer más. A ayudar a estudiantes hispanos a hacer más que las generaciones anteriores. Hacer más de lo que se creen capaz. Hacer más de lo que pensaban que era posible. Por sí mismos, por su gente, por su cultura, por un mejor futuro. Para más información sobre la beca nacional Hacer de McDonald's, visita mcdonalds.com/hacer. Aprende más.
Dancing crew, trip for two, nail the final interview. Game with Doug, brand new mug. Come here, kid, give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. Boosters designed for COVID-19 variants are now available. If you've had your primary series, schedule an updated COVID-19 booster appointment as soon as you're eligible. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Chances are you aren't sharing an epic dinner with your friends right now, but you could be. Just book a seat at a private dining event with your Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Then get to it. A multi-course menu, insane flavors, a wine pairing. Ooh, is that crispy duck? Experience more unforgettable dinners with private dining events from Sapphire Reserve. Chase, make more of what's yours. Learn more at chase.com/Sapphire Reserve.
Cards issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Holiday season is upon us. With being Latina and the supernatural bear being multicultural, it is that time of year to see all kinds of family. Those that are blood related and those, as a supernatural bear calls it, heart related. How cute is that? Whether we stay in town or travel, we'll most definitely be breaking bread with familia. Holidays can be magical like that. They can bring us all together to create those special moments and memories, usually involving food. And you don't need much. It can be at the family carne asada, the family BBQ, or that traditional family holiday meal. All that matters is that we're together. All that matters is that you're together. The holidays always find a way. Enjoy the real magic of the season by surrounding yourself with good friends and family, delicious food, and of course, ice cold Coke. Coca-Cola pairs perfectly with every holiday get-together. And then so I wanted to see what the name of the show was so I can talk about it here. And then I read this and then I was like, yeah, that adds to my question of the monsters. So it was called Reclusively Yours, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It says, is a reflection on isolation and the passage of time in the life of solitary monsters, whether talking to an invisible friend, learning new skills, or indulging in activities like no one is watching because no one is. These monsters find the good and bad in time spent alone. So I wanted to ask, you've been doing these amazing monsters, in drawing them, sculpting them. How did you get to monsters? How did you figure out that style? How do you name them? Because they have really cute names. And they always seem to have, not all of them, but majority of them, at least recently too, they're super cute. But then they seem to have something like fries or like a cute little, a knick-knack or something. Like, I don't know. I love it. So I'm interested in, and they're always, like you talk about that they're alone and in your world, monsters are alone? Is this a reflection of Vanessa? Where is this coming from?
I probably a fair reflection of myself. I'm a very solitary creature myself. I'm really bad with I have really bad social anxiety. So you know this because you've invited me to things and I say I'll go and then I change my mind and I don't go. I'm notorious for this. So I have really bad social anxiety. I guess so. I guess that part's a reflection, but in general, like the overall mood of them come from things I've seen. Not monsters. They're children. my nieces and nephews. My dog.
Ooh, Freudian slip.
Yeah. So like the people around me. My dog. Things like that. I'm just. I guess a part of it was also, I think what really unlocked it was taking that, character design class. Because you focus on mood, and I love animation and like stop motion and stuff like that. I loved it. It's so charming and just beautiful. Like one of my favorite movies is it's Fantastic Mr. Fox, and the fact that in the movie that these characters were so quirky and funny, and then you could see their fur moving. Like they went that far into that detail. So back to where you started. So I was taking that class, and then I had been on the Circus Postures boards I'm aging myself here. Do you remember that they used to have all those, that was the message boards or whatever? Yeah. So I was on there, and so they had like this drawing thing, like draw a monster. So I drew this monster, but I was going for creepy. And, and initially that was in my head. I was like, I'm going to do, I'm going to try to go a little scarier. But then like all this cute shit kept coming out. And I just kept drawing monsters. And and Hannah would tell me, she's like, embrace the cute. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go for it, And yeah, so I would, that's kind of like where that whole idea came from. And so I just was messing with shapes and character and just kind of emotion, what I lacked in, because at the time I was still learning how to sculpt. It all happened very, like, me getting into shows and learning to sculpt was happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because that year that everything started to pick up was the year that I was like, you know what? I'm not big on like, New Year's resolutions or anything, but I was kind of taking a reflection of where I was and what I wanted to do and what my goals were at that time. And I said to myself, this year, because I have social anxiety, because I was very quick to say no to no. Yeah. That was my favorite answer, was no. I was like, you know what, this is a year where I say yes more often, And Hannah decided that year to invite me. And I was like, okay, I was like, I need to figure this out. So I decided to be like, okay, what you lack in skill, you can make up for in expression and making something really cute. So that's kind of what happened. And that's kind of what came out. And then I just kind of leaned into it. And as I got better, I was like, okay, I don't want all my monsters to look exactly the same. That was a big thing. I was like, I really want to get better with everything that I make. And I need to try to figure out a way to make this look furry without everyone looking the exact same. So I started developing the style that I kind of refer to as pedaling, where I basically lay layers over other layers of fur, and I give them, try to give them motion and, whatnot. And it's kind of evolved into what my style is now. And yeah, I've just kind of been pushing to get that better and make it smoother and cleaner every time. But at the root of everything I do is emotion. Is what is that monster feeling? Yes. What's driving it? And I guess the overall arc and theme at the beginning started with monsters are people too. So I didn't view them as monsters. I viewed them as people. They just happen to be furry with teeth, or like lizard skin or something. And as I was making them, and this was from the beginning. I was like, well, if monsters are people too, I drink coffee. Monsters drink coffee. I don't have a sweet tooth, but I feel like a monster would have a sweet tooth. So I would make cupcakes, and I was trying to figure out what I could sculpt that would feed the story, or this idea. I shouldn't even say story. I should just say this concept. And yeah, so it's a story, Vanessa. It's a story. You tell stories with each one, with your drawings, with your 3D, with your sculptures. What you're saying you set out to do, I think you're very successful at, because if kids, peeps, I'll have a link to her link tree, but you could also see all of her stuff, at works in progress and finished things on her Instagram. And you see the expression, you could tell all of them are in your world. They're all from your world. They're all from your head, but each one has a different expression. Like, oh, this is a little sad, or he's real pensive, or, this one's a troublemaker. Like, you could tell. So you're very successful at that. So I will say that they are stories. You're a storyteller with your art. Yeah, I agree in that. Like, when I post them, I try to engage people with these stories that are in my head, because so what I do, I guess the best I can explain it is, whenever I'm sculpting, I like to start with the face because it tells me who they are. Or, I start with either sketches, or I just go into the clay and see what comes out. And it's, I see what the face is, and I see what the expression is, and I start to build outwards. And then once I have that, once I'm done sculpting and I get the paint down, I like to use like turn of the century names. And I like to use like nickname versions of them because it feels a little more personal. So I generally will look up those, and I look at them and I'm like, what do you look like? who do you look like to me? And then that's how I choose names. And
That's
so
one question I was going to ask you too, is like, how do you choose their names? Because like, I think you had a Bernice, and like you had like different, you know, the one that I said looks like that one meme of the guy getting in the car. I never knew his name. You know, that one meme where the guy's getting in the car and the guy's going, ha, 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 and he goes in the car. And I was like, oh, your character looks like this on Twitter. And you're like, oh, he does. And his name is Leroy.
Okay, Leroy. Okay, all right. The one with okay, yeah. It took a minute. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. No, you're right. That did look like that. I was cracking up at that one. Yeah.
And then I saw his name and I was like, his name is Leroy. It fits. It totally fits.
Yeah. So at least in my mind, that's how I see it. You know, I look at them to see what they tell me and, you know, what just seems to fit them. And I feel like it kind of adds to it. But so the whole reason why I mentioned that is because when I post them, I like to share like little mini stories, but I don't have an overarching story for them yet. I think because I'm still getting better. I'm still learning. You have to remember, like, I didn't know anything about sculpting. I'm completely self-taught, and I've been doing it 10 years now, but it's, you know, it's always different. It's always new. And, you know, I'm just always trying to push it. And I think by adding like accessories and making them a little more complex, that's my way of like pushing myself and getting better and just giving them a little more personality and a little more story.
Yeah. And I see like, I don't know if I noticed it before, maybe not a lot of them had, like you get more accessories, more like different articles of clothing, not completely covered, but like, which adds to the personality. Super cute. One thing I did want to ask you, and maybe it was never a thought, maybe you were like, I don't care, or I don't even notice, but it's something that I noticed going into the toy world accidentally and going into the art world accidentally, is I didn't see too, and I think that's why I also gravitated towards you, is like, I didn't see too many people that look like me. Brown folks in general, let alone brown ladies. So I wanted to see what your thoughts were, since I feel like we entered around the same time. And if that, you know, did you notice that? Was that a thing for you?
I noticed that there were a lot of men and not men of color. And definitely not a lot of women, and not a lot of women of color. And it's interesting to see it evolving. Like this year, this last couple of years, I've been trying to be a little more, I think I kind of stayed in my own corner for a lot of the last few years. And I've been trying to kind of reach out a little bit. And I had met a few people like at Designer Con. And there's a couple that makes toys called Ghost Fox Toys. They're both Latinos. And really, really sweet people. They lived in El Paso, Texas. They live in El Paso, Texas, where I used to live. So we just chit-chatted, and they're so talented. Both of them are so talented. And I started to see like more people that I've met, and, you know, and like people who are coming up and like learning and stuff, and, you know, whatever is their path they end up going. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people come and go in this time, and not a lot of them have been people of color. You know, it's interesting. When you go to DesignerCon, you don't see a lot. I mean, I shouldn't necessarily say people of color, but definitely not Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, whatever it is that you go by. Because there are a lot of like really solid artists, there's just Asian that are just crushing it, you know, but definitely not people that look like us.
Yeah. And I think you being a sculptor is even more of a niche. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure like it seems like there's even less representation. So you represent for the art, represent for the sculptors in such a interesting way. And for the past, I guess, over 10 years, I guess, I've been trying to make it to the Latino, I think it's called the Latino Comic Expo. Every year, I can't make it. And I've been dying to go to that because I was like, I feel like I would see artists that I'm looking for. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because
so
that's
the first time I heard of that. Yeah. So the first time I heard about that was the year that I made Conchitas. I made Conchitas and I had him there. And this group of like Latinx people walked over and they were so excited and they were telling me, oh, you should go here. They have a bunch of like bandusas and all this stuff. And I think it was like 2018, and then 2019 ended up being a crazy year. And then obviously the pandemic. So it was just, I just never even got a chance to look into it. So that's the only reason why I even know what it is.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where it's at or when it is. I just know that there is one. And they were just saying that they have like, oh, there's so much stuff would be cool there but the thing is, that's like the only thing that I do that represents my culture, I feel like, because that's the other thing. It's like, I feel like a lot of people who do like what you would consider something representative of your culture tend to be people who aren't people of color. Like there's so much sugar skull or sugar skull and shit like that out there that isn't done by Latinx people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, I just didn't want to jump in that corner. So, every so often, like I do like little mini projects. Like I do random stuff too, where I make ghosts, I make pumpkins, because I don't like to keep myself in a box either. I enjoy the monsters, but I also like having a little outlet to do random things. And so that's what my resin is kind of at this point. So I made the bandusas, the conchitas, and people really like them, and they've been really, really popular. And it's fun to see, like, to get collectors who enjoy them, and I've actually gotten a lot more Latinx collectors that way. But it was my way to kind of represent. And I've had monsters with like little bandusas in their hands and stuff like that. So yeah, because that's kind of like my little way to kind of represent.
So how about this? You're antisocial. I'm super social, but I'm like, I'm an extrovert, introvert though. People don't know that. So how about this? When the pandemic, if it's ever over or safer or something, so not this year, I think it just passed. So the Latino Comic Expo, it moves around. So I think this year was in Long Beach at the Museum of Latin American Art. And then before it was like in San Francisco or Sacramento. So like it travels all around.
Oh.
So next year, if it goes down and it's somewhere within the state, let's roll. Let's roll together.
All right. And now it's on here, so I can't say no now.
Yeah, especially if it's down here, we'll just roll. Because I feel like, I'd love to see Latinx artists that just happen to be artists, but don't do shit. Like if you see their art, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I like to see both of that shit. I like to see, because we need more representation in the art that's actually being put out there, but also just some dope Latinx artists.
I just want to see the people, what they're making and how they're expressing themselves. It doesn't have to be this. It doesn't have to be that. I'm not looking for anything specific. And that's the same here. Like I would enjoy seeing how they're expressing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. See brown people expressing themselves in so many different ways. That would be dope. So please remember, you and I, we're going to check it out. Peep game. Hilarious. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about is, have you seen City of Ghosts? We talk about this.
I have not.
Oh, Hannah and I, we talk about this. We love it so much. So you haven't watched it yet.
I'm notoriously bad for not watching things and not keeping up with things.
Okay. So I was like, what is your drawings? Like, I remember I just loving your drawings because they had personality and everything. But beyond that you have this great way of conveying fluffiness and puffiness, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? In your drawings. And I was like, well, it reminds me of something. And so City of Ghosts, my favorite fucking shit. You guys who are listening, if you haven't watched it, it's this animation. It's about different parts of LA. You're going to cry tears of joy and tears of pain. It is gorgeous. It is inclusive. It's everything you want everything to be out there in the world. And the ghosts are like your drawings.
Really?
Puffy. They're like
That's awesome.
puffy. And I want them. And I want a thing that looks just like and I love it so much that we're recording this pre Hallows Eve, but when yours comes out, it'll be post Hallows Eve. So my costume is Zelda, which if you watch it, you'll know who that is. She's the main one. She has a brush, has a ghost on it, and she interviews the ghost with the brush.
I better get to it then.
It is super cute. So anyways, I'm trying to find the color shirt and shorts. I found a brush that I'm going to paint red. But anyways, you have to watch it because you're going to see this and be like, God damn it, that's so fucking cute and so fucking fluffy. That's what I think of when I look at your drawings.
I'll have to check it out then for sure then.
Fluffy puffiness. City of Ghosts. Check it out, Vanessa. You're going to love it.
I'm going to check it out. Yeah, it's funny with the texture thing, or like, because I was like, I didn't want to like put fur. I wanted to really sculpt it, and and I wanted to convey fluffiness, like you're saying, give it volume without it just making it big. Yes. And yeah, and that kind of ended up being, my way of doing it. I'm glad it reads that way. Well, I know with the drawings for sure more, because I give it more of that, what I try to do as far as fluffy and convey that. So,
yeah. And even in the sculpture, I mean, it's great. So I wanted to ask, what do you do to stay inspired? How do you stay inspired? Like, it's hard for me. It's been years, but I think it's also because for me, it's like a medical thing and I'm being a mom thing and being exhausted and not having bandwidth. So I always ask artists, how do you continue to stay inspired?
It's definitely really hit or miss for me. I have moments when the inspiration's gone and I have to trust that my hands are going to do what they need to do. That's kind of where I started. I actually hit a really rough patch with creativity a few years back. And that's when I started blind sculpting. Because before I would sit down and I would just draw a bunch of monsters. Then I would go in and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to sculpt this and sculpt this and sculpt this one. And then what ended up happening was I had no ideas. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I started messing with clay and I threw away a bunch of stuff because it just wasn't coming out. But I find sometimes when your head is like, because my head gets very full of all life, of real life stuff and whatnot. And it's hard to create when that stuff starts to interfere.
Yes. Like
you said, whether it's medical, whatever it is. And when that stuff is running around in my head, it's nonstop and I can't turn it off. I just try to find a way to express myself differently. So I'll sit down and I'll just I'll just make shapes with armature and then I'll start popping eyes on things and then little by little. And sometimes something happens, sometimes it doesn't. And I also will go to my sketchbook and I'll see what I drew before. And I'll be like, all right, I'm going to try to sculpt this. And then sometimes that'll get things going. And those are just kind of like the things that I do. Or sometimes you just need time off and you just need to not do anything because it is hard. I burned myself out a few times because I don't know when to stop. And I tend to push myself to the point where like I can't use my arms and hands. DesignerCon week, I get to the point where like I can't hold things. I just sit there and I'm like walking around and I just drop a pencil or I just drop what's in my hand because I would do that. And this was years ago. I've gotten to the point where I knew I needed to change something, but I just have that really bad habit. I have a really high pain tolerance. So I can disconnect from my body and push myself further than I should go.
Got it.
And it's something that I'm very, very aware of now. But it took years and it took me burning myself out so bad. I think I went like quiet and I didn't make anything for like 5 months or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I just put everything away and I didn't touch anything. I didn't draw, I didn't sculpt, I didn't do anything for like 5 months. I didn't take any shows. And it took 5 months and I said, I can't keep running it this way. So I started going to therapy, both physical therapy and a therapist, and to try to find a way to kind of like step out of myself and say, okay, we need to stop. We need to think, what are we doing? What can we finish? What, how hard and how far can I push myself? And, I get massages. I do exercises. I don't push myself to exhaustion anymore. And I stopped accepting as many shows
Nice.
Because before I just, yes, go. And, sometimes you just can't. And as much as I would like to do as many as possible, it's just not wise. I'd rather make better art than more art.
Yeah. And it took something drastic like that to happen to you for you to realize that.
Yeah. It took burnout. And like I had kind of semi burned out before. And then I got back into it very quickly. And then I burned out. And it took me hitting that wall to just really figure things out. And it's still something I struggle with because I tend to, like I said, once I'm in that mindset, I push. And that's the big reason why I decided not to do DesignerCon this year, is because otherwise there's been times when I've made everything I needed to make. And you've seen my table.
Yeah.
Like I always have it full.
Yeah.
And I will make that in a month.
Ooh.
I sculpted. Did you see my big monster? It was in 2019. That real big one I did.
Yeah.
That one I did in 2 months. That's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
I had the armature done, but all that fur. Yeah, it's just, and that's the thing is like, I just, sometimes I just get so focused on doing things that I forget to stop and to be like, okay, and take a check. But it's definitely something I'm working on and I've gotten better at. And not having to drive to work and stuff like that has really given me time to be, to be thoughtful about what I'm doing with my time, because I have more time now.
Yeah.
Not losing 2 hours a day driving anywhere.
It makes a huge difference. And I'm glad to hear it, Vanessa, because, I want to make sure people heard what you said, that you went to both physical therapy and mental therapy. We're two brown women that are talking about mental health. This is something that is not normalized in our communities, but it's great to hear that you went to therapy, or I'm in therapy. I mean, it's helped so much.
Have your kids been in a house playing video games in your space way too long? Now you can get them outdoors and still be social while social distancing at the skate side after school and group skateboarding classes. Skate students get to improve their skating and decompress after a long day or week of school. This program is awesome for beginners to get started or advanced skaters to take their skills to the next level. Go to theskateside.com and learn about our COVID-safe programs in Santa Monica, Culver City, Glendale, and South Pasadena. That's theskateside.com. The Skate Side. More kids skating.
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of personal growth, and and the whole reason why I even mention it is, and I've mentioned it to people in passing, is because it is not part of the culture. It is definitely frowned upon. It's like, just get up and get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I can get up and get over it, but it stays with you. You carry it.
Yeah.
You're just lifting it heavier. It's heavier and heavier, and it's just harder. And it's important that people realize that it's not weakness, and it's something that I struggle with. It's something that I struggle with constantly, because because there's days when it feels like weakness, and it's not weakness. And I can tell you that I've grown as a person. My relationships have gotten better, especially like with my mom and like with my sister, and just the way that there is a person you are, and there's a person that you kind of want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm okay with the person that I am, or even then I was, but there are things that I want to change about myself. And I didn't like the relationship I had with my mother. I didn't like how we spoke to each other. I didn't like the fact that she knew my buttons and she would push them and I would react. And then, and then I'm made to feel like I was the one that was overreacting.
Yeah.
So I found that if I removed myself from that situation, it got better, and And in turn, I felt better.
Yeah.
And she felt better. And our relationship has grown so much because of that, you know. And the thing is, she's made changes too. But I definitely think that, you know, therapy was a big part of that, because you do have to have those discussions with somebody who you're not related to, who doesn't have, you know, their version of the events. I mean, it's great to talk about them. Like, I'll go and talk to my sister and be like, hey, we talked about this, and like I get feedback and we discuss it. But like, to have somebody that I can go and talk to in this quiet, in this space where I'm not embarrassed, or or where I don't allow myself to be embarrassed. I don't allow myself to feel the shame. I don't allow myself to feel whatever it is that you feel when you talk to people, you know.
Yeah.
And it's been incredibly helpful.
Yes. When I tell people, I've been an advocate of therapy before, because people would get kind of cringy back in the days. I'd be like, counseling. You know what I'm saying? It's like going to a counselor. Yeah. And I tell people it's you're doing the work, but you're with when it's good, it's good. And you have to keep trying if it's not, if you don't feel safe, because it's a safe space with a professional that what they do is they give you the tools. You learn the tools, you figure out your patterns, you figure out what you're doing, all these different things. And they give you the tools so that it's not like you go in sad and you come out happy. Like,
no, absolutely not.
That's
it's
not
work.
The thing. It's a lot of work, but a lot of work on your part. And you get in, you get out what you put in, and it's fucked up and it's rough sometimes because you're putting a mirror to yourself. But the safe space is important. Like I tell people I know that I'm fortunate enough that I have an amazing support group, of people that I can go to. But it's not the same. They're going to ride or die for me. You know what I'm saying? I need a professional so I can tell my deepest, darkest shit and insecurities and everything, and then know the tools. Because like you said, and it sounds like from what you said that you going to therapy was a catalyst, because the way you reacted, the way you interacted with your mom, then she probably saw that. And then she started kind of realizing things, so that she's kind of changing herself. Like that therapy was a catalyst for that, and I feel like the more we talk about it, like it's nothing, the more people be open to get the help, especially in our communities, which is super important, because then that's how we clip and stop these cycles. And especially being women of color, Latinas, Mexicanas, like there's so much shit on us just from jump out the womb, like shit you deal with.
Generational trauma.
Trauma. And it's just like understanding that. And I tell people, if you haven't read the book, listen to it, or just know the general philosophy. The body keeps the score. So it's not weakness, but if you don't fucking deal with it, it's going to fucking deal with you. You know what I'm saying?
You may not want to deal with it, but it'll come. It will start to build, and it'll be at the point when you can't keep those lids on those things, and you need to. And that's the thing is, it's to your own detriment.
Exactly.
And and I have my moments when I'm like, okay, I can't do therapy right now, even though I need it. I'm not going to do it right now. You have to take your breaks, because it's a lot of emotional labor.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I can tell you that I found the best about it is with having a therapist. Once you find one that you're comfortable with, and you have to go in there and be able to be like, this is everything.
Yep. No holds bar. Like shit you never told anybody ever. And shit. And I don't know, tell me if it was like this for you, Vanessa. Was there some shit that you've said in a session that you've never said to yourself?
100%.
That's the shit.
There's things I refuse to admit to myself. Exactly. There are things that I've never said to anybody in the world. Mm-hmm. But the thing, and I think the thing that I kind of gather from it is, not only do they, give you the tools, but they ask the questions you would not think to ask.
Yep.
Those make me think, and that's what's like, okay. And then I go home and I think about it, and and it's not easy, but having somebody who knows the questions to ask, who asks you the questions that you didn't think of, who frames things in a way that you would never think to frame them.
In a way for you to understand, and in a way for you to understand your shit. I think that for me was like, oh, oh, word. Like, oh,
yeah. It's like what is that? What was it? Who's that show where they like basically like they figured like they didn't realize that they had blinders on to something and it was like the glass breaking. I can't remember, but yeah, and it is. It's like you have these like mini epiphanies. I hate to use that word, throw that word around because it's a big word, but you do. You have these mini epiphanies of like, oh, wait a minute. Hold the phone. I did not think of it that way.
Yes.
What the fuck?
And then you're like, holy shit, that fucking makes sense. That's why I was doing blah, 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 blah. And
then you're that meme. Then you're that meme with like all the chords.
Yeah, exactly. That lady going, what? Exactly. Yeah. And you know, and I'm not a woo-woo person. I like fucking data statistics. And I tell people the books that I recommend that have been recommended to me in therapy the past couple of years, they're researchers, they're doctors, they've done the studies and they've collected the data. And this is like from Yale, and like this is real shit. Like if you don't deal with your trauma, it physically manifests in your body, you know?
Yeah. And I've read like different books. When I was having like before I decided to go to a therapist, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, because again, that's something that we do. And so I would go and I would get, I'd read something like I'm feeling a certain way and I'd read this book. And I think my real awareness came when I read some Brene Brown books. And that's the thing is, I fuck with her. Her Brene stuff Brown is just so straightforward. It is data. And the thing is, she tells you these things that you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah. And it took me a little while after that. But like I read the books, I listened to the audiobooks, I would listen to her podcasts, and she's just so straightforward, and it's not flowery. It's not, it's just very straightforward. And she's saying, this is what the data says. And I'm like, and I hated it. And I haven't, I've had a few therapists, and, you have to find somebody who you vibe with and who gets what you're trying to say. But you also have to get somebody who like really just lays it out there.
Yeah, that's not afraid to like call you out on your shit and is not intimidated by you and stuff. And I think that's a thing too. Like, a lot of people don't, I kind of intimidate, and they push you, they call you out on your shit. And then they're because they're professional at what they do, they've been doing it for a while, they can really read what you're telling them and be like, and then throw it back at you or ask you that one question that's going to make you think like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't mean that.
and here's the other thing is, don't go in there trying to tell your story so you can find out if you're right. Exactly. Like, go in there and be like, I'm going to be raw. This is why I'm here.
Yeah.
But all this stuff. And the funny thing is, the reason why you're there is just such a small part of it. Because once they start getting into the things that build you, your little building blocks, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't why I'm here. I'm here because this, and this is why this is going wrong.
Yes. It's like they're like, oh wait, there's all these little doors, let's open up these drawers. You have all this shit, and
it's
you're like,
the worst. I'm like, please stop touching my shit, please.
Going back to Brene Brown, dude, when I found her, when I've gone to therapy 3 times in my life, and the latest time I started, I think it was 3 years ago, again, and it had been a long time since before that. And I don't know how I found her shit. And I started listening to her books while I had just started therapy, or right before I started therapy. So it was like I was getting on both ends. And every night I walked where we were staying at the time, and I'd be like, listen to her. And I was like, I love her because it's data, but she's also from Texas, and she's giving it to you rough, rugged, and raw. And her stories are relatable. And she, she cusses a little bit here and there, or she's just like the person next door, but that's a fucking, renowned researcher, and I love her to death. And I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso.
Yeah, oh, yes, I did. Oh, I fuck with Ted Lasso. I love that she had the, what's his name? Brett
Goldstein.
What's his name? Yeah, I got to watch that. I can't wait to hear that podcast. But yeah. I love that show so much. Talk about that little drop of joy that you get.
Yeah. It's a hug. When I saw the first season, I was like, oh, this is the hug that I need in these trash times. But what I love about it is that they, when you hear him and also Jason Sudeikis and the other guy, the co-writer, the second coach, they're on Brene's show too. And then Brene Brown's on Brett Goldstein. Remember, I sent you his podcast about movies. She's on there. And then they talk about how like all the writers fuck with Brene Brown heavy in the writer's room.
If people mention her, I'm like, okay, I'll fuck with you, because honestly, it's just very straightforward. She's not trying to sell you anything, and she's not trying to make bank, because she could be fucking making bank right now, but she chooses her projects to help the most people. And I have so much respect for her, for what she does. And honestly, if I hadn't stumbled on her TED Talk, who knows if I would have ever gone to therapy.
Yeah, that's real. That's big.
To be honest.
That's big.
Yeah, because it's just, I at that time I was really struggling with stuff, and I don't remember how I ended up on her TED. I used to like to watch TED Talks, so I just think she ended up playing, and I was like, what? It was literally like being punched in the face or being thrown in cold water and saying, I didn't view things this way. How interesting. And then I had read a couple of her first books, and those are a little more technical and they're a little harder to get through, because I like storytelling, and so they're not for everybody. I read them, they were good, but like her later books, like I think Braving the Wilderness is my absolute favorite book of hers. That one speaks to me. I have the audiobook, and every so often I just put it on to remind myself, like right now I'm not in therapy, I'm taking a little breather, but like I try to remind myself of those things, and that I'm going to have to get back to it, because it's a constant work, and and I've made huge strides, but there's always more work to be done. I just have to be it has to be the right time for me too. And sometimes when it doesn't feel like the right time, it's the right time anyway, but it's probably when you need it the most.
It could be a sign that it's the right time. But yeah, man, Brene Brown, I mean, I hope one day I get to meet her somehow, some way, but I know if it wasn't for therapy in her books at that time where it's just everything fucking collided. And then it opened up my world to even more, researchers and psychologists that do research on like happiness and like all these different things. And I was just like, yes, this is everything that I need that's proven and is helpful and stuff. But thank you so much,
I'm not
Vanessa.
a warm hugs person. I'm not like a warm hug kind of like soft talking book person. Like I've tried, I'm like, it doesn't feel sincere.
Exactly. And I think that's Brown is sincere. Yeah, she's exactly. Like, there's no bullshit. She's recovering alcoholic. She tells you up front. And it's just like, okay, we're dealing with this right here, right now, and I think also just being Texas, so, from Texas, like, I'm not from Texas, but my brother's father, so we go to Texas every year, and there's a certain thing, Okay. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for allowing us to go into this a little bit deeper, because I think it's so important. And I think, especially, we all have issues, or we're very, but I think especially as creatives, I feel sometimes, at least for myself, we tend to be a little bit more in our head and with our emotions, and, we go into some deep, dark places. And I feel it's even more imperative to seek therapy. And right now I'm at a point where I'm once a month. But earlier this year, I was every fucking week. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And she's like, I think we're good. I think you're on the other side.
Like, are you sure?
And I was like, she's like, so we can like stop it. And then if you want to continue, come back. And I was like, can we just go once a month? I was like, I just need to check in, like, just in case. You never know this world.
It's good though. Cause it's like, sometimes, like if you quit it, you kind of forget. And this way you have like a little touchstone kind of to remind you of those tools or what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah. And I find myself, when you were saying that, we lay it all out, at least once every session, I always say, you know what, because to be 100% honest, because I'm about to go in, like, you know, about to say some shit. But yeah, man, it's very important. Okay, let's go into, before your time is up with me, let's go into the questions and comments from the audience. I'm going to say the question and comment, and let you guess who it's from.
Oh, shit.
Congratulations on crushing another solo show at Stranger Factory. We have one question for you. Is yesterday's prize today's price?
That's definitely not Hannah. No, I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, that's Hannah and Roger. Yeah,
she's so crazy. Yes.
Love them. And you know, convince her to be on. You know, she's like,
okay.
She's like, well, I don't know what I talk about. I'm not in the art world. I go, I don't just talk to artists. I talk to the people, because the people I like, and I like their journeys, and I like their stories.
You know, Hannah is an incredibly intelligent, sincere person. And I am incredibly lucky to have met her and to be able to call her a friend. Yes. She's her and Roger have been some of the kindest people to me. They have been like my hype team since the beginning. I wouldn't be where I am today if not for her, because she said, she was like, when I would go to, I'd be like, you know what? I don't know if my idea is creative enough for this. She's like, you're going to be in the show. She's like, and she would force me. And that's the thing is, like, she really helped me as far as like coming out of my shell and pulling me out, because she recognized what I was, how introverted and my social awkwardness and, you know, and the issues that I had with that, you know, and she would invite me to, she's like, come to the opening. And then I would show up and she'd be like, okay. But like, and then she'd be like, I think like the first time I went, I only stayed for like an hour, but also like I had hurt myself, because I hurt myself all the time. And so I left, or I was sick. I think I was sick. And I ended up, and I didn't want to interrupt her because she was a curator. And so I just left, and she's like, she texted me. She thought, did you really leave? I was like, yeah, I wasn't feeling well. And then she's like, so then the next time she's like, come to the opening, but also let me know when you're going to little by little. And like, we would get together for dinner and stuff. And, you know, and she's good people, and she's an incredibly intelligent person. So I'll try to push her to do it. But
yes. Because she has an incredible story. And I feel like she's helped out some people. Like, I know a lot of people, I've been in a couple of her shows. So she's been gracious like that to me. And also I've met people through her, and, you know, just because you feel that you're out your legacy and contribution in those different worlds don't disappear. And I feel like she has so much to talk about. So yeah, Hannah, you're going to be
I'll try. Yeah, Hannah, better do it. You're just telling me to do things.
Exactly. Tables a turn. Okay, before we head out, let's do the not so rapid fire questions, the AKA slow as hell questions. Vanessa, 3 words to describe yourself.
I can't even describe myself, Jesus. Quiet, tired, and caffeinated.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've received?
See, we talked about Hannah, and all I can hear is her fucking voice in my head. And all I hear her saying is, just say yes. Just say yes. That's probably one of the best ones.
Just say it. I mean, it's changed your life.
Yeah, saying yes did change my life. And honestly, it did. And even if you don't say yes all the time, like, say yes more often than you normally would. I mean, here's the thing is, don't be afraid to fail. That's it. And
that's it.
That's what that ends up being. It's because failure is part of life. You're going to fucking fail. You're going to eat shit. But the important thing is what you do after that.
Exactly. That speaks volumes of a person when you fail or you fuck up. And I feel like it's saying yes, but also being able to recognize when you should say yes. Like, oh, this is making me nervous. Like I'm a little nervous about this because it's out of my comfort zone. That's
Lean into
when I
that
should
fear.
say yes. Yeah.
Lean
It's
into
like,
that fear.
oh, okay, fuck it. Let me do it.
My
Fuck it.
first show, like even like when I first was offered a solo show, I was petrified. I have never made that many pieces. And I almost had a nervous breakdown at the end of it. I was like 2 weeks away and I'm like weeping to my sister. I don't know how I'm going to finish this, but I did it. And I learned a lot. And I don't get that. I'm better now, but you know, it's tough. But saying yes is scary. It's hard. And even when you don't know if you're going to be able to do it, obviously don't say yes to things having no intention to follow through. That is a no. But, you know, say yes to things that scare you. It just makes it so much better.
Exactly. Okay, next question. Song to get you hyped. What's your go-to song or songs?
My go-to? Let's see here. So I would have to say around the time that I started getting hyped, I was more into metal. So it's Atreyu's Creature.
Okay.
Yeah. And I for me, it's kind of a hype song because it's telling you to like that, you know, basically kind of what I said earlier is basically be the person that you want to be or yourself. Don't let the world change you, but also don't hold yourself back. And that's literally what the whole song's about. So that's my hype song. And when I'm feeling stupid and I just need like stupid hype, and this is because of Arrested Development. I always put on The Final Countdown by Europe.
Classic as well. I'm going to add, peeps, if you don't know, I have a Word to Your Mama guest hype list playlist on Spotify. So
don't put mine on there. It's going to ruin the whole list.
No. It's a crazy mix of songs. I mean, we have everything from Elton John to Fetty Wap. I mean, the whole gamut.
So Atreyu Creature is Screamo. So that should be fun.
It'll be great. It's going to be great. So I'm going to add this to the list. We'll have a link. What I like to do in the show notes is whatever songs my guests say, I have a YouTube link to those songs, and then I'll add the link to the playlist. Final question, Vanessa. What will be your legacy?
My legacy will be probably have something to do with black hoodies. I don't know. I don't think I've gotten there. You know, I probably should know by now, but I don't know that I have a legacy to leave. I don't see myself having a legacy. I just, you know, I'm a simple person. I make monsters. I wear black hoodies.
No, your legacy, I'm going to tell you what your legacy is, because you're an artist and you're a storyteller, and your legacy is, at least from right now, and who's to say how your art will evolve. But so far, Vanessa, you've, just like Ted Lasso, have put joy into the world. Have given people joy, little hugs, little, oh my God, that's so cute. Oh my God, I want to grab it and crush it into pieces and spread it around like dominoes. Your legacy is your artwork. You bring joy to people.
Well, if I can bring somebody a smile, or, you know, and I'm super appreciative because so many people have bought so many of my monsters from the beginning. And if I can bring a little bit of joy to them, then I guess that's my legacy.
Yeah. Success, Vanessa. You've succeeded in that. And that would be your legacy. Vanessa, thank you so much for being on Word to Your Mama. I appreciate it because I know that you do have this social anxiety, and I saw that you had done a live thing. So kudos to that. And I remember telling you about that. I was like, it's not live. We're not live. It's recorded. So thank you so much, because I know it's not your thing. And I appreciate you coming on, and especially going above and beyond and sharing real personal shit that I feel is so fucking important to our community. And yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think it was an important conversation to have.
Yeah. Don't forget, we're going to the Latino Comic Expo.
All right. I'll look it up. And I'm going to be prepared to say yes.
And now introducing
The Supernatural Bear Corner. Supernatural Bear. Yo, what are my Autobots and Decepticons? Dang, haven't said that in a while. Today's episode is all about Miss Vanessa Ramirez.
Ramirez.
Woo! That Mexican tongue. Gotta practice the like a machine gun.
Bilingues.
Anyway, she's an amazing artist. She makes beautiful clay sculptures, and trust me, they are cute. My mom will put a link to them down in the description below, if there is one. I'm not sure.
Show notes.
Show notes. Sorry, I'm kind of still new to this podcast stuff. Anyway, she's an amazing clay sculptor, and she makes them so realistic, but at the same time, so cute. And my favorite one is, well, the biggest one there is. Biggest one with a small head. I forget the name, though. I think it was Joseph?
Maybe. I don't remember.
Maybe. But anyway, this has been the SNB signing off.
Shooby-doo. Yeah. There it is, episode 51 of Word to Your Mama with the amazing Vanessa Ramirez. You know, just two Mexicans talking about art, talking about mental health. I don't know what else you want, you could ask for in an episode. But there it is. Also, as I am late to the game and just started watching the morning show, as I was editing this episode, I was like, she used to have morning show hours. She'd get up just like they would to start getting to work at the same time. Crazy. Also, the Supernatural Bear rolling his R's, that was a very proud moment, as a couple of days ago, he was saying that it was hard for him to do that. And he just did it on the spot. So, proud Mexican, Latino, Latinx, Latinx, Latine moment. And I'll take it. It's recorded for prosperity. Thanks again to everyone and their support. We have some special episodes coming up to wrap up the year, and then we'll take a little bit of time off, but we'll still be posting some gems, some classics from the year before. And you can become a patron, as you heard earlier, or if you just want to do like a one-off donation with no commitment, you go to wordtoyourmama.com. We got a donate page. Or you want to get something for something, go to the store. There's pins, there's tea towels, there's little bags. What are they called? Tote bags, all kinds of stuff like that. So thanks again. And we may or may not have something new cooking that we might unveil within the next month. Something special, something within the airing live situation. I don't know. We're working on it, but we'll keep you posted. All right then, as always, we reap. Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritzy P. Intro beat produced by Nico Beats. If you want to know more, you want to email us, you want to get the media kit, go head over to wordtoyourmama.com. Word to Your Mama is now part of the Latina Podcasters Network. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by RitzPeriwinkle.com.